Yes. So today we are going to start with the concepts of queueable apex, right? Yeah. 001. Hmm. So yesterday we have seen one concept that apart from the mixed DML operation, what is the use of future method? So we have seen that whenever we perform any long running operation, we can use the future methods. But in the real time, I'll tell you one thing. For the long running operation, we usually don't use future method because there are few of the drawbacks that are associated with this process. The first one is like, the future method, if you are using and if you wanted to supply some of the parameters, then with this method, we can only supply the primitive data types and we cannot supply the S object. And see, practically, if you think of this, in the real time application, see, we cannot thought that there could be any method that doesn't have any Salesforce object. Obviously as a parameter, obviously as a parameter in the real time, we always required to transfer Salesforce data. We always require to transfer the data of the Salesforce object. That means transferring the S object parameter is very, very common, and future method doesn't support it. So that's one of the biggest advantage of this. The second is like, we cannot have the cascading or chaining or nesting of future method. One future method, it cannot call another future method. Okay. Then third one is there is no such tracking mechanism. That means whenever a future method gets executed, nothing will be going to be get stored inside a async apex object. And so we cannot fire a query and then we cannot see, okay, what was happened to this method, whether it was successfully executed or not. And that's what the thing. So these all were the drawbacks that were associated with the long running kind of operation with the future method. And so Salesforce have developed one another kind of interface, and the interface is queueable interface. So how will you write down, how will you imply this, how will you apply this, queueable interface and everything? Let's see. So first of all, with the class, the class to which we are implementing this queueable interface, that class must be a global class. और वैसे भी आप एक चीज को समझिए, आप सभी लोग, we are working with the asynchronous programming. Whatever we asynchronous and synchronous के बीच का जो major difference है, that is, synchronous operation execute within the OR, asynchronous operation executes outside the OR. That is the reason we every class, in fact एक batch class जो आपने बनाया, that implements the batchable interface, that was also global. Now if you wanted to interface queueable, if you wanted to have this facility, then the class, whatever the class, you need to make that class as to be what? Global. And then it should be implemented by one of the interface. The name of interface is system.queueable. System.queueable. That is what the name of interface. So if I wanted to have the functionalities of queueable interfaces, I should implement the first thing, class should be global. Second thing, it must implement one of the interface with the name system.queueable interface. The first thing. Now, you remember batch class, there were three methods: start method, execute method, and the final one was with the finish method, right? But here in the queueable interfaces, we only have one method. We only have one method, and that method is execute method. A little bit same with the execute method of the batch programming. Also, it's void. It's also void, right? The return type, if I ask you the return type of execute and finish method, they were void. However, if I ask you what was the return type of start method, that was database.batchable. But there is no start method over here. There's only one method, not even finish method. And there is no start and finish method. There's only one method in the queueable interfaces, and that method is execute method, and the return type is void. Now it accepts one of the parameter. For batch class, it was like, execute method have that parameter system.queueable class, system.batchable context. And there were one more parameter, list of S object, because execute method will actually, there was a start method will transfer the parameter to execute method will actually collect those parameters, everything, the data and everything. So there was a second parameter also. There were two parameters inside this. The first one was system dot batchable context. The second one was list of S object, but here there is only one parameter, and that's system dot, it is not batchable context, but it is queueable context. queueable context with any name of the variable. This is just a variable name. It's a user defined variable name. You could give any name to this. And then after this, after executing, if you wanted, if you wanted, you can track the result with the same async apex job. You can fire a query. You can fire a query, SQL query on the async apex job where you could get the results. That is how we are going to design a queueable interface. So in my opinion, we will be I will be solving this example, and this one example is more than enough. Actually, this this one is a theoretical concept. Dekha jaye to we must aware of two things. First of all, we must aware of two things. If we are learning the future method, we must aware of two things. There are certainly two uses of future method. I discussed this yesterday only. कि पहला तो वो मिक्स डीएमएल ऑपरेशन जो होता है कि इन अ सिंगल ट्रांजेक्शन इफ यू वांटेड टू परफॉर्म द ऑपरेशन ऑन सेटअप एंड द नॉन सेटअप, then you should make two different methods for that and make one method as to be a future method. This is the first. And the second one is long running operation. Now we came to know that the second part, long running operation, there are certain drawbacks also. So to remove those drawbacks, the now queueable interfaces has been used. So all of the drawbacks that are there into future method, they obviously are not there into queueable interfaces. So queueable interface is a kind of interface, which provides you can use like primitive as well as object, both of them. You can use in queueable interfaces. Then you can use, you can actually call one queueable with another queueable, and it even whenever it provides you the tracking mechanism. That is, whenever this particular class which actually implements system.queueable, this class is executed, the results are going to be stored inside one of these standard object, async apex job object, and then you can fire a query and then you could get the result, what was happened to this, everything you could get it. That's what the reason. That is what the thing is. Okay, so guys, this is all about, this is all about queueable. Now let me take this example, and so that we could understand it. So we need to configure a queueable a class with the queueable jobs, and that will going to create one of the hiring manager records. Okay, so it's pretty simple thing what we are going to do with this. It's not I mean, it's not just a big concept. We just require to understand like how to make a class and how to create a class and everything. It's going to how to execute, particularly how to execute this. So everything we are going to learn. So let me now go to the Salesforce part, and let's open this developer console. Let me create a class. What is the name? I will copy this name. So with this name, I'm creating a new class over here. Yes. So this is the class I'm created. I've created this class with the name hiring manager queueable. Now let me make this class to have the functionality of queueable. So whenever we wanted to implement, whenever we wanted this class to be get implemented with the queueable interface, the first change is like make this class as what? Make this class as global class. Every class should be a global class, right? That is what the thing. Now the second thing over here, it must implement one of the interface with the name called as system.queueable. System.queueable. This one. Okay. System.queueable. And then there is no such parameter. Like, if you remember the batch class, here we used to write down database.batchable, but along with an S object. Along with the S object. Here there is no need to implement this. It's like system.queueable without any parameter. So it's giving me one error. Why? And that error is showing me, okay, it must have execute method. If it must have the execute method, whenever you make a class to be get implemented with the system.queueable functionalities, it must have what? It must have the execute. See, what is the return type? Return type is void. What is the parameter? System.queueable context. So if if you closely observe the error itself is very meaningful. Error itself is very meaningful. You must have execute method. What should be the return type? Return type should be void. What should be the parameter of execute method? It should be system.queueable context. That is what should be the parameter. So error itself is very clear in Apex programming. It indicates almost everything what is missing inside this. So here, I'm creating one method. That method should also be global void and execute global void execute method. Execute method here you can use small case, uppercase, whatever, and it have one of the parameter like system dot queueable context with any of the name like queue context, like queue context. Okay. So I'm creating one of the method over here, just one method, and that method is execute method. Okay. And your execute this class only have one parameter. This class only have one parameter. So I'm expecting this error to be gone. अभी error हट जाना चाहिए. देखो almost हट गया यहाँ से. Why? Because it was demanding. This interface demands one of the method, and that method is execute method. Now we have implemented. Now let's design the code. Let's design the code. What should we design over here? What we want? What we want? We wanted to what, to create a hiring manager. That is what, you know. Here I am writing the business logic. Here I am writing that business logic which we are using to create what? Which we are using to create the hiring manager record. That is what we are going to do. So we are creating the hiring manager record, and that's the reason, you know, I'll be creating the object of hiring manager. Obviously, I'll be creating I'll be creating the object of hiring manager, right? So let me copy the name. Name of the object is hiring underscore manager underscore C, but I just don't want it to make any typing mistake. That's the reason I used to copy it from here. Okay, so I'm creating the object of this class HR record equals to say new, once again this, and make this as a default constructor, right? So what you created an object of this class. You created an object of the hiring manager. Now with the name of this, let me create the record. So HR record dot name equals to, you can give any name over here. Let me try to see that. Okay, I'll be creating this like queueable HR manager record, something like this, or just manager. Okay. So with this name, actually, I'll be creating one of the hiring manager record. HR record dot, for example, contact number. Let me give any contact number over here. It should be like, you know, 8877665544. Okay. And then like HR manager dot, probably there is location field. Yeah. Location equals to say this location is, for example, Pune. E should be capital because it's going to match it with the options of your pick list menu, right? So HR record dot some email ID, HR email ID. HR email ID is like, again, it's a string value, so I'll be giving it like, you know, QUABL, or let me just copy this whole thing. @test.com. Okay. Now see, everything has been done. I created the record. Time is to insert this record because I wanted this record to be get inserted. So insert what? I wanted to insert this HRV. Insert HRV. And now if HR record dot ID is not equals to null, मतलब record insert हो गया है, because record insert होगा तभी तो ID generate होगी. If it is not equals to null, here you can print like system dot debug HR record inserted successfully. That's what I can print. Done with the program. This much. ठीक है, बस इतना ही है. एक simple program है. Only thing is like, you know, only thing is what is over here. You are actually implementing it with the help of queueable interfaces, nothing else. ठीक है. Now let me try to execute this program. So अब execution कैसे करते हैं वो थोड़ा सा देखिए आप. Execution इसका कैसे करते हैं, that is a little bit typical and it has been written over here. Whenever we wanted to execute any such class which implements system.queueable, whenever we wanted to execute any such class, that implements system.queueable, we actually requires this class to get pushed. push into Apex Queue. We need to push this class inside Apex Queue. ये जो क्लास हमने बनाई है ना, दिस क्लास आई हैव क्रिएटेड, ठीक है, आई नीड टू पुश दिस क्लास इनटू अपेक्स क्यू. अपेक्स क्यू के अंदर मेरे को पुश करना पड़ता है. नाउ व्हाट इज अपेक्स क्यू, दैट इज नॉट, आई डोंट थिंक ये कोई डिस्कशन की बात है. दिस यू नो व्हाट इज एन अपेक्स क्यू, दिस यू नो व्हाट इज एन अपेक्स क्यू. Every asynchronous operation, whether it's a batch program, whether it's an flex queue, future method, everything is always executed from apex queue. Like everything is always executed from apex queue. Now you have created a class. अभी अभी आपने एक class बनाई queueable interface के साथ. This class will going to be get executed only when you will push it inside apex queue. apex queue में उसके लिए एक नया job, जैसे ये class को let's consider this as R5, record number 5, J5. So this J5 should be get pushed into apex queue. apex queue के अंदर ये क्लास को exceptionally push करना पड़ता है, अपने को manually push करना. Then only this will be going to be a server पे जाएगा और फिर execute. How we are going to do that? Let's see that. Let's see that portion. So we need to push the queueable class into apex queue. We need to push the queueable class. आपको queueable class को push करना पड़ता है. Then only and then it will going to be get executed. तो वो कैसे करते हैं, उसके लिए एक मेथड है system.enqueueJob. system.enqueueJob, ठीक है. With this method actually we will be we will be actually pushing this particular class. जो क्लास आपने बनाई है उसका नाम न्यू के अंदर, ये उसका फॉर्मेट है, दिस इज व्हाट द डिफॉल्ट फॉर्मेट, system.enqueueJob. उसके बाद में ब्रैकेट ओपन करो, विद इन द ब्रैकेट न्यू कीवर्ड के साथ में वो क्लास का नाम दो एंड मेक इट एज अ डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर. So that this will system.enqueueJob is a method that, ये जो मेथड है ना आपकी enqueueJob, this enqueueJob method will create a job and it will store that particular job inside apex queue. तो apex किसी, ये आपकी क्लास है, ये क्लास को यहाँ तक लेके जाना है, एक नया जॉब बनाना है, इसके लिए जॉब नंबर J5. तो उसके लिए आपकी एक मेथड होती है system.enqueueJob. ये रेडीमेड मेथड है, जैसे आपने आज तक सारी मेथड सीखा, एक के बाद एक सीखा, इसे आप एक एक चीजें अभी आप सीखते जा रहे हो. मैंने कहा था कि अपेक्स जो है ना, आपका 70% कोड जो है अपेक्स का वो रेडीमेड है, राइट. तो हमको वो क्लास को पुश करना है अपेक्स क्यू के अंदर. ये जो मैंने क्लास बनाई है, ये क्लास, दिस क्लास नीड्स टू बी गेट पुश्ड इनसाइड अपेक्स क्यू. यहाँ पर मुझे जो मेरा अपेक्स क्यू होता है, अपेक्स क्यू के अंदर मुझे इस क्लास को पुश करना है, यहाँ तक लेके आना है. एक नया जॉब क्रिएट होगा, इसके लिए एक नया जॉब क्रिएट होगा. फॉर एग्जांपल जॉब J2, J1 पहले से यहाँ पे मान के चलिए, J2 क्रिएट होगा. तो ये क्लास यहाँ तक कैसे पहुंचेगी, उसके लिए एक मेथड है, उस मेथड का नाम है system.enqueueJob. system.enqueueJob, ठीक है. और फिर अपना उसका एक फॉर्मेट है न्यू, और उसके अंदर फिर आपको क्लास का नाम विद अ डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर लाइक दिस. तो जब ये मेथड एग्जीक्यूट होगी तो जो क्लास का नाम आप दोगे तो उस क्लास के लिए एक जॉब बनाएगा, वो जॉब नंबर J2, और वो जॉब नंबर J2 को जाके यहाँ पे स्टोर कर देगा. कहाँ पर, अपेक्स क्यू पे, अपेक्स क्यू. बाकी की कहानी आपको पता है, उसके बाद क्या होता है, यहाँ से कहाँ जाता है, एवरीथिंग दिस यू नो. तो ये कंसेप्ट है, इस तरह से एग्जीक्यूट होती है आपकी क्यूएबल इंटरफेसेस, ठीक है. तो व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज लाइक, लेट्स गो टू द execute anonymous window, deleting this. First of all, id the same चीज, same चीज है एक्चुअली. तो ये जब रिटर्न करता है, मतलब जब ये पुश करता है, तो पुश करने के बाद में जैसे एक नया जॉब क्रिएट होता है तो उसका आईडी रिटर्न करता है. तो आईडी रिटर्न करता है, इसके लिए हमको उसको आईडी नाम के वेरिएबल में कलेक्ट करना पड़ता है. सो आई एम मेकिंग दिस, यू कैन गिव एनी नेम, फॉर एग्जांपल क्यूएबल जॉब आईडी, ठीक है, इक्वल्स, यू कैन गिव एनी नेम फॉर दिस. नाउ द सेम थिंग, सिस्टम डॉट व्हाट एनक्यू, सिस्टम डॉट एनक्यू जॉब, ठीक है. थोड़ा सा बड़ा कर दे सो दैट system dot c एनक्यू. तो एनक्यू जॉब में कैसा है, इट्स गोइंग टू रिटर्न द आईडी रिटर्न करेगा, इसीलिए मैंने यहाँ पर क्या लिया, आईडी ले लिया, आईडी का एक वेरिएबल. सो आई विल बी यूजिंग दिस. यहाँ पर देना पड़ता है आपको क्यूएबल, ठीक है, क्यूएबल क्लास का नाम, बट नॉट डायरेक्टली, थोड़ा सा अलग है इसका फॉर्मेट. द फॉर्मेट गोज लाइक दिस कि आप सबसे पहले तो न्यू कीवर्ड दो, ठीक है, अलॉन्ग विद द न्यू कीवर्ड गिव द नेम ऑफ द क्लास, give the name of the class. So what is the name of my class? I'm just copying this. ठीक है, ये वाला नेम मैं यहाँ पे कॉपी कर रहा हूँ एंड देन मेक दिस एज अ डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर, उसको ये बनाओ एंड दिस इज हाउ वी विल बी एग्जीक्यूटिंग अ क्यूएबल इंटरफेसेस. This is how we will be executing a queueable interfaces. Let me try to execute this and see what happens. So here like HR record inserted successfully है, जो हमने HR record बनाया वो insert हो चुका है और उसकी ID भी generate हो गई. If you wanted to print here, I could print the ID successfully. ID तो नहीं दिया, ठीक है, तो वहीं से देख लेता हूँ. तो क्यूएबल HR मैनेजर के नाम से एक रिकॉर्ड हमारा इंसर्ट हो चुका है. If you wanted to cross verify, we could go to the Salesforce. Salesforce में जाने के बाद में try to refresh this. सेंट में आना चाहिए था. Anyways, अंदर जाके देख लेते. See, this is what the record we created. Queueable HR manager. ठीक है? With every details whatever we have. So this is how, this is how we can implement queueable interfaces. This is how we can implement queueable interfaces. ठीक है? बस इसमें इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं. Actually this was a theoretical concept, but I thought कि इसमें theoretical दूंगा तो शायद आपको पूरी तरह से समझ नहीं आएगा. That's the reason I have created one program. Go with this and create it. The next program that I will be starting, हाँ ये आप चाहो तो कर सकते हो, नहीं तो इसको छोड़ सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है इसमें. If you want this, if you want this, you could, चलो मैं कुछ और details बता देता हूँ इसको. Let me try to make some modifications first of all. ठीक है. Now let me try to make some modifications over. So if you wanted to track the result, जैसे हमने बोला कि future method आप track नहीं कर सकते है ना, here you can track the result. Now how to track that result? मैंने यहाँ कोड सेव किया है कि हाँ सेव नहीं किया है, इसको सेव कर लेते हैं. How can you track the result? You know that there is an object async apex job object, right? और मैंने यहाँ पे आईडी कलेक्ट किया कि जब ये इसने इसको पुश किया, ये एक नया जॉब बनाया एक क्लास के लिए, तो उसने एक आईडी जनरेट किया, एक आईडी रिटर्न किया दैट आई हैव कलेक्टेड इनसाइड वन ऑफ द वेरिएबल विद दिस नेम, है ना, विद दिस नेम आई हैव कलेक्टेड. तो मैं उसको यहाँ पे पेस्ट करता हूँ कि ये जो आईडी जनरेट हुई है, whatever the ID that is generated right now, उस आईडी के अगेंस्ट में, वेयर द आईडी इक्वल्स टू दिस, उस आईडी के अगेंस्ट में आप मेरे को स्टेटस दो, टोटल नंबर ऑफ जॉब आइटम्स, एवरीथिंग क्रिएटेड बाय डॉट ईमेल वीमेल, जो कुछ भी है असिंक अपेक्स जॉब के अंदर जो कुछ भी, दीज आर द फील्ड्स, है ना, दिस ऑल आर द फील्ड्स ऑफ असिंक अपेक्स जॉब. तो उस आईडी के अगेंस्ट में आप मेरे को वो सारी जो चीजें हैं दैट जस्ट गिव, और बाद में फिर उसका जॉब डिटेल्स का आईडी और उसका स्टेटस जो है प्रिंट करवाया. सो लेट मी नाउ एग्जीक्यूट एंड सी व्हाट हैपेंस. चलो अभी आप इसका आउटपुट देखो. सिस्टम डॉट डीबग मेरा काम किया. One record was created this date. Let's try to see whether the record was created or not. Shall record inserted successfully. नंबर ऑफ क्यूएबल जॉब्स एडेड टू द क्यू. देखो अपेक्स क्यू में कितने जॉब ऐड हुए वो बताता ही है. ठीक है, 1 अपेक्स पुश. रिकॉर्ड तो इंसर्ट हुआ है. ठीक है, बाय सम रीजंस आई डोंट नो व्हाट द रीजन, सिस्टम डॉट डीबग मेरा काम क्यों नहीं कर रहा है. ठीक है, एनीवेज, वैसे यहाँ से नहीं भी देखे तो एक तरीका तो है, मैंने आपको फ्यूचर मेथड के लिए भी इनफैक्ट बता रखा है. इफ यू वांटेड टू ट्रैक, तो अगर आप क्वेरी बेस पे नहीं कर पा रहे हो तो यू नीड टू गो टू द जॉब, एंड जॉब्स में अगर आप अपेक्स जॉब पे जाते हो तो आपको समझ में आ जाता है. ये देखो दो क्यूएबल इंटरफेसेस एग्जीक्यूट हुए हैं अभी, तो दोनों का स्टेटस यहाँ पे दिखा रहा है ना। उसके बाद में ये क्लासेस का नाम वगैरह सब बता देता है कि कौन सी क्लास थी, विच वाज द क्लास एक्चुअली, इट वाज हायरिंग मैनेजर क्यूएबल इंटरफेस क्लास थी। ये एग्जीक्यूट हुई, दिस हु हैज एग्जीक्यूटेड, कब कंप्लीट हुआ एंड एवरीथिंग, व्हाट वाज द आईडी, ये आईडी एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था मैं, आई वाज, ये जो कोड लिखा ना मैंने, ये जो कोड लिखा है, तो आई वाज एक्चुअली एक्सपेक्टिंग दिस आईडी, ये वाला आईडी मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा था। बट एनीवेज आई नीड टू डू समथिंग मोर फॉर दिस। चलो ठीक है, मैं नहीं किया तो भी चलता है। तो हैव अ प्रैक्टिस ऑन दिस, आप चाहो तो इसको इंक्लूड करो, अदरवाइज यू कैन स्किप दिस पार्ट, अदरवाइज यू कैन स्किप दिस पार्ट, आप इसको छोड़ सकते हो, नो प्रॉब्लम इन दैट, फाइन।